Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 5 Elements of Success Player Development Series. I'm Roger Nick, your host and founder of Junior Golf Hub. This week we're live in our Energy Zone here at the Golf Performance Center. Last week, Tyler will tell you, we're at Ethan Allen Preparatory, which is a great setting for us. However, we're back here in the studio and talking about fall golf and the tournament preparation. So we're excited about sharing that with you and getting ready for that. Before we get into the show, let's talk about sending in your comments, your questions, concerns to 5 Elements at the Golf Performance Center. We'd like to hear from you to make sure that we actually can help you reach your goals on and off the golf course. Also, before we go any further, got our co-host Tyler Campbell, Director of Performance here, Dennis Hillman, Director of Coaching. So we're here hopefully to inform you about the tournament prep for fall season. Also, for those Hub members out there, we want to remind you that we have the College Prep Series coming up October 16th through the 18th here at the Golf Performance Center in Ridgefield, Connecticut. You Hub members, you got a special perk, 50% off or $50 off, registration. So make sure you're looking and signing up for that. We'd like to see you get more exposure to college golf and golf coaches. So sign up for that. Pop quiz this week is how many times has Winged Foot hosted the U.S. Open, including this year's U.S. Open? I'm going to repeat that. How many times has Winged Foot hosted the U.S. Open, including this year's Open? Okay, make sure you get your answers in. You're going to get a dozen clear golf balls sponsored by Clear Golf. So get those in. We'll draw your name out of the hat later on in the show. Okay? Tyler, before we get into this week's show, talk to us about last week and what we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, we were excited. We were down at main campus, Ethan Allen Preparatory. Yeah. It was a beautiful day, and we had Charlie Wampler on the show. She was educating us about executive functioning and time management, as all of you guys are getting back into school now, trying to manage all the expectations and demands that are placed on you. We understand that that's not easy to do, and so spending some time working on improving those executive functions is very important and will go a long way. So check out last week's episode to learn a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks so much. And Dennis, so we're getting, like you said, back to school, back to fall golf, and this fall is actually tremendous golf. Like we said, we got the U.S. Open down the street at Winged Foot here. We got the Masters coming in November, so it's a little different this fall for the professionals, but also for some of the juniors out there, because we got more maybe tournaments going on this fall because of the way college seasons playing out with a lot of schools not having their tournament season, and now what are the seniors are doing, what are the juniors are doing. So what are you doing from a coaching perspective to get these kids, young players, ready for fall golf?
Yeah, so hopefully you guys are mapping out your schedule for the fall. You've had a good summer, but right now time, the demands on time are a little bit tougher right now. So excuse me. So preparing for tournaments and mapping out the golf course, we know is so important. So Friday practice rounds are not as easy. Maybe you can't take a day off of school. So mapping out the course at home, either on Google Maps or one of the apps out there can be really helpful. You can actually create a good yardage book just in the comfort of your own home. We're talking about sleeping habits, so that's one thing that coming out of summer, staying up late and waking up late. We've heard from a lot of our juniors that it's been really hard to transition back to waking up early. So I really stress at the end of the day just having the discipline to go to bed and not stay up playing Fortnite or one of the video games, right?
But that's not a bad thing if they're playing video games, right?
Right. I mean, it's just a matter of how much time you spend playing it, right? Yeah. So if you want to be a top student athlete, obviously you've got a lot of time dedicated to academics and golf, but you got to have some fun too, no question.
Yeah, I mean, and I say that in jest, but the reality is, with the technologies today and some of those games out there, I mean, it's actually a lot of things you can learn and what you can do, and maybe even how to help your golf game, playing some of these games. I know a lot of information's out there, and I know, Tyler, you're talking about how to read the greens.
Yeah, you guys were Tiger Woods, about how bad of a putter I was, so might not recommend this to anyone, but in principle, that Tiger Woods or PGA Tour video game gives you some decent feedback.
Yeah.
On, okay, I got to pull this, I got to aim a little short, aim a little right.
And nothing else, it gives you maybe a good visual when you're out there putting, right? So maybe you guys also see on the screen, we got our coach here, Dennis Hillman, shaking hands at, congratulating or being congratulated, beating Tiger Woods at 15-time champion out there. So as you can see, Dennis, you had some layering going on. You had some clothes there. Must have been a little cool.
Yeah, there's nothing beats those old turtlenecks. So I recommend you guys go out and find some of those. If maybe mom or dad have some old ones, but. When we look at, weather's a big adjustment, obviously, in the fall. So being able to layer and tee off maybe in 42 degrees, but you walk off 18 and 68 degrees. So how do you prepare for that? What do you need in your bag, and what kind of attire do you want to have for those conditions?
Yeah, well, speaking of that, and I think that's really important to talk about. So what's in your bag when you're going out in the fall, and again, as you mentioned, layering. We'll get to that in a minute with maybe Tyler will talk a little bit more about that in the physical side, but packing your golf bag for fall golf and what you're doing, how important it is to have everything you need in there.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you guys get to watch the U.S. Open and Winged Foot. You see how big their bags are. I mean, there's a reason that, they've got caddies carrying their bags around with a lot of stuff, and there's a reason they are that size. That may not be the case for you. You may not be able to stuff as much, but there are certain things that you're going to need, obviously from a nutrition standpoint, hydration standpoint, and then just all the different layers that you need. And obviously looking at the weather forecast is really important, but sometimes there's unexpected weather, and so having the rain gear is never a bad idea as well.
Yeah, maybe throwing a sweater in there, something, and gloves.
You make a great point about hydration. In the cool weather, it's very easy to think that you don't need to continue to hydrate. You might not be sweating as much as you would midsummer, and so you naturally don't think to drink as much. But very, very important to continue to hydrate. And that's why we talk about setting up a system for yourself and getting into a routine throughout your round, using your practice round to practice this routine with regards to how frequently you're hydrating throughout your rounds. So
yeah, no question. No question. You'll see that again this week and this fall when the guys are playing out there, how much they're drinking. Water coolers on every tee box basically, and they're trying to get get their system still I guess fueled up or lubed up, if you will. So Dennis, talking about preparation in this fall and what we're doing from a coaching standpoint. Obviously, there's a lot going on. These kids have school, they've got tournaments, they have friends, they have families. How they're thinking and what they're doing is so important. And there's a lot of risk of failure there. And I think a lot of people kind of, there's a lot of stress that's going on in their lives. So how do you help them manage that as you go through, and from a practice to tournaments to handling everything else?
Yeah, I think, again, time, there's a lot of demands on time right now, so you may not be able to be as consistent as you were in the summer, would be one thing. First let me step back. I'd say, just remember golf's hard. You've got big goals, let's say. Golf, playing golf with a deadline is really difficult. So really you can just lay out those goals and strive to be your best, every day, and that's all you can do. So, don't put as much pressure on yourself, because we do see that a lot. But what can you do in the fall as you go back to school? I mean, I think, not every week's going to be the same. You want to have, certain weeks that are leading up to tournaments. You want to build up and, have more time in practice and play, and then try to peak for the tournament. And then when you get back after the tournament, it may be more intensive on academics, so that you can kind of keep the balance going over time.
Yeah, and one of the things I think you guys do really well here at the Golf Performance Center is managing that time throughout the year, where there's those ebbs and flows, and we can call it, Tyler, you have the whole sequence of what happens physically, so the whole thing is managing that really well. And I think one of the things that gets misunderstood is the quantity of time or practice over the quality of time or practice, and how this actually should narrow that and maybe get more focus on better practice habits.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, sometimes you can do better if you just really focus on the fact that, hey, I don't have as much time, and let me map out a plan for the week, and let me just make sure every rep is a quality rep, as Tyler talks about all the time in the gym. Was that a quality rep? Did that rep make you stronger? Or did it make you better? So there's no question you really don't need as much time as you necessarily think you do if there's quality reps.
Yeah, I think we think that we have to go out and hit so many shots and play so many holes, but it's the holes that you play. Are you getting anything from it? Is the key, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one form of practice we really like, it's a random practice or result-based practice, which is just hitting 30 shots, all different. Every shot is different to a different target, on the driving range, and that could take you 15 or 20 minutes, and that's almost like a round of golf as far as tee to green. It's a great way to practice.
Yeah, and it's a good way to really focus and know that you're getting quality feedback, because you don't get that extra shot every shot on the golf course. You just have that one shot. So.
Yeah, you're conditioning yourself to just kind of get into that mindset of, well, it's okay. I've got another one to hit versus this one counts. The more reps you do that quote unquote count, the better prepared you'll be.
Yeah, that's great. Tyler, on the physical side, there's obviously physical demands and different physical demands, and as we get into the fall and we talk about, preparing themselves for the fall and then the winter and the next year, so the periodization schedule or timetable that you have, what should the audience and the kids understand?
Well, this time of year, we're really focusing on getting back to basics, is what we like to say. And essentially what that means is really just making sure we have a good, solid athletic foundation built, first and foremost, making sure we have good quality movement, making sure we're mastering technique, not really worried, again, about building maximal strength. Now, we know we're still playing in tournaments. We still need the ability to recover relatively quickly. But that's going to transition here pretty quickly. So we do need to make sure that we're putting the time into the little things, and making sure that our hip hinging and our squat mechanics are still solid and we're not getting sloppy or a little lazy with those. That our joints are moving well, we're stable in the right areas, mobile in the right areas. And again, this is all to support us throughout the remainder of your fall season, but into the winter as we really do have time to build strength and power on top of good, solid function.
Yeah, and with that being said, actually, kind of thinking about the U.S. Open, and we just were watching, some of the highlights there, or their practice rounds, and they showed Bryson DeChambeau, and I thought it was really interesting. Obviously, he's transformed his body,
change,
big physical change. How do you think that's going to affect him, or is it going to be a long-term positive thing, a negative thing? Obviously, the guy is meticulous about his profession, so on the physicals, he's doing a lot of.
Yeah, I would say, in general, again, it goes back to our philosophy that if he's moving well, building strength on top of good function, in theory, should support a healthy swing. Obviously, anytime you create more speed, more power, the risk of injury is going to go up. That's inevitable. But I think he has crossed his T's and dotted his I's, and him and his coach have absolutely done everything they can to ensure that his physical function, his ability to move, is as good as it can be. And they're building good, solid strength and power on top of that. So, I think he's kind of, going with it at this point. I think he's committed to it, and obviously he's very confident and bought into the theory that if the ball goes further, I'm closer to the hole. I'm going to get it in there sooner than the next guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, moving well is a key to that. And I think that's I think that's the key.
If he were to do that on top of poor physical function, he would already be injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think just in the sense that the body's not meant to withstand. If the body is not built to withstand that, it's not going to last. It's kind of like just putting Honda Civic brakes on a Ferrari. They're not going to stop that Ferrari.
No,
they're not going to be able to control that.
That's going to be a crash,
so,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something that you kind of think about with the junior golfers, really, in general, is that's one of the things that why we talk about long-term development versus this short-term development. And you see what Bryson's done, and you think about where he is in his development. He still talks about his process, and he's only trying to get better. These are only markers that he's actually putting for himself to continue to improve. But for the junior golfer, I mean, I think we hear quite often again, these coaches out there or teachers saying, hey, you got to get fixed now so you can win now versus what's the consequence later on. But their function isn't there. I mean, we know that they're going to go through a lot of different physical development, mental development
well,
stuff.
It's funny. We talk about our PDI being a player development index, being a marker for where the athlete is right at this moment. And Bryson, in his interview yesterday, he said this tournament this week, a major, is just another marker, and he's looking. This is one of the 4 biggest tournaments of their year. A once in a lifetime opportunity for some folks who are playing in the event.
Well, it changes the whole career trajectory.
Absolutely,
for most,
but yet he has the wherewithal to still give it just the respect that it is, and say this is a marker in my career, and I'm gonna learn from it, but I'm gonna continue to try to get better.
Right, and prepare just like you would to play as well as you possibly can for that singular event. And that, I'm sure as a coach, and you're telling your players, and you're going through this whole process, it's how do we get to the other end of this? Which again, you just mentioned there's no deadline to this. It's you're still developing and you're continuing to develop.
Yeah, I mean, a finite versus infinite mindset, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, looking at this just with an infinite mindset where you're just continuing to develop from where you are, continuing to try to make progress, having those markers along the way, whatever they are. PDI is fantastic.
U.S. Opens.
Yeah, U.S. Opens, absolutely. Self-guided assessment. I mean, all these things are just, little markers to medium markers to, big markers along the way. But all you can do is try to make progress from where you are. But if you're the person who's good at actually improving, eventually you're probably going to pass a lot of people if you can keep going.
Yeah, again, with that infinite mindset of going, I'm only doing this for this reason, i.e. I want to play college golf, so I'm only playing in this event so I can not lose rankings, or not playing this event so I don't lose rankings. That's important to kind of go, what are you really trying to accomplish here? Because that doesn't mean that you're trying to get better. It just means you're trying not to get worse. And that's a big difference, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it goes into the whole, college application process, and are you trying to just become what, you're supposed to become, or you're just being true to yourself? We see that happen in golf, selecting tournament schedules based on what you think coaches want to see, versus, what works for me, what's going to get me to where I want to be in my personal goals, and then, the recruiting, I think, will work itself out.
Yeah, which is why we talk a lot about our fall tournaments and how we schedule tournaments for the fall. And there's for different reasons. It's not about, whether it's, hey, you're going to get seen by a college coach. It's really that developmental mindset that you're, setting these tournament schedules up for, which is, what am I working on? Hey, what did I learn from the summer tournaments, which tend to be my major season? But, what did I learn from that? And what can I take into the fall and then into the winter, into my developmental season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to extend that season and continue to work on certain things. I think it's a slight shift from maybe some of the bigger major events that you might have played in the summer and really tried to peak for. But I think it's a little bit on a smaller scale, and then leads you into the winter.
Well, and I would think if you're preparing to play college golf, the collegiate season takes place in the fall and the spring. You're going to be playing in less than ideal conditions. So preparing for that is going to be, the fall season's got some more importance.
If you look at the four majors in professional golf, I mean, I know we went to the Masters a couple of years ago, and we'll see this year in November. I mean, it was 42 degrees when they were teeing off. We know the British Open, right? And now we've got the U.S. Open this week. It's going to be a little bit cool, I think, in the mornings this week. So if you want to win majors, you got to play in cool weather.
Show a little grit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of that, I think that's one of the cool things about what we're trying to talk about here is that mindset, right? And there's guys who will put themselves right out of the tournament because they're thinking negatively about the weather conditions versus,
so cool.
Hey, I'm excited about this and I look forward to challenging myself. And I know you've said it and we've said it before about the whole idea of what the weather is. It's not that it's bad weather; you're just not prepared.
That's right.
And I think you had a good story about Tom Watson talking about that.
Yeah, Tom Watson. I mean, he a lot of success in British Opens. Won 5 British Opens. Almost had that 6th one. Lost to Stuart Sink. But he realized years ago that half the field was eliminated just because they weren't showing up with the right mindset, prepared to play, and positive about it. It was just a lot of people showed up with a negative mindset, and so he just felt like it was a great opportunity for him if he could embrace it and show up with rain gear and just get after it.
Yeah, I love that. Just get after it, right?
Yep,
I mean,
bring it.
Bring it. Yeah, that's our mantra this year. So bring it, and that means show up in all aspects, meaning that you're ready to do your best in everything, whether it's physical, whether it's the golf side, the mental preparation that you need. So you out there, make sure that you're bringing it every day and giving it your all in all the aspects that you're putting out there. So, which is really good. Dennis, before we move on, I wanted to kind of talk about the effects of the weather conditions, and again, we'll bring up Bryson DeChambeau because it sounds like he's doing a lot of this research or having guys do it for him about how does it affect the golf ball and what happens out there, and do I need to get a new golf ball? Do I need to stick with the one I have? So what should I do?
Yeah, I mean, it's Bryson's looking at what they call air density. So there's different factors that affect how dense the air is. Altitude, temperature, humidity, all these things are going to factor in. So with our juniors, we're looking at really humidity is kind of negligible. So altitude and temperature is really important to look at. If you look at temperature alone, it's 5 or 6 degrees. Every 5 or 6 degrees, you're going to lose or gain a yard. So if you go from the summer in 85 degrees and then now you're teeing off in the morning, this fall in 45 degrees, that 40 degrees is somewhere around 8 yards of difference. So, significant enough. It's not just you that, hey, there's something wrong with me today. No, it's colder. The ball doesn't go as far. So it's important to understand those things.
Yeah, I definitely missed that one yesterday in the tournament I played in. Why didn't you tell me that yesterday? I needed that. Tyler, is there anything else on the physical side that you want to talk about, explain, as we're going into the winter or into the fall season where temperatures are going to fluctuate? Sure. Is there something that we need to know?
Well, I think we talked about it a few episodes ago where we demonstrated the dynamic warm-up. And I can't stress enough the importance of going through a really solid physical dynamic warm-up prior to hitting balls on the range before your tournament round. making sure that your core temperature is elevated, that your blood is flowing, is crucial to obviously giving yourself the best opportunity of performing in those first few holes and making it resemble maybe your mid-season form in the summer. But even still, reducing your risk for injury. I mean, you've got an opportunity here to stay healthy heading into the off season.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is get out of the car cold and start swinging the golf club, and all of a sudden my oblique, my shoulder, whatever it might be, starts to hurt. So the other thing that I'd probably emphasize is pay attention to the pace that you walk when you are playing your tournament rounds. Are you strolling out there? Are you walking with a purpose? It's okay to have your heart rate elevated as you get to your golf ball. We can use some breathing techniques that that we can go through to slow that heart rate down in a pretty quick amount of time. But I really encourage people to walk with purpose, walk with pace from one shot to the next. That's going to keep your heart rate up, the blood pumping. You're going to be a little warmer for sure.
Well, it's also going to help with mental clarity, right? I mean, one of those things
focus.
that you need. Yeah, you have that focus, and I think that's so important when you get ready to hit that shot. Are you engaged and ready to go?
Yeah, I love to see our juniors out there. First one down the fairway out of the threesome, and it just looks like, ideally I'd like to see that consistently, whether you're 10 over par or 8 under par, whatever you're shooting, just consistently down the fairway with a good brisk pace. It looks like you've got positive energy, and you're going to get there and focus.
I would say head up, eyes forward, go get it, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Bring it.
Love it.
Bring it.
So we talked a little bit earlier with Dennis and layering, and had the turtleneck on.
Yeah.
And I know, Tyler, you have some recommendations of some clothing and how to layer and why that is important.
Yeah, well, I'd say obviously technology in this department has been huge over the last, call it 10, 15 years or so. But with making this athletic wear more pliable and move with us, we really like Under Armour's line of clothing when it comes to staying warm. It really does. It almost feels like you don't have anything on, but yet you're still staying warm. I would say, Dennis, you made a point earlier about looking at the weather and looking at the low for the day versus the high. It's so quick. We're so quick to look at the high, and I love that. That's the potential. It's getting to 68 today, but guess what? I'm teeing off at 7:50 in the morning. It's going to be mid-40s like we're talking about. You're going to probably start your round with significantly more clothes than you're going to end your round. So showing up to the first tee with shorts and a golf shirt on isn't going to give you the best opportunity to perform well, and when that's our ultimate goal. So, looking at what the temperature is going to be early on in the day, and then managing it accordingly throughout your round. Having the hat ready, keeping your head warm. Sometimes that might do the trick for you. But I would say don't be afraid to take layers off throughout the round, or if you have a late tee time, put them on as it gets cooler in the evening.
Yeah, that's good. Dennis, as far as going back to the golf and preparation for different things, obviously we got school, time management. It's going to get close. It's going to get dark, a lot earlier in the day. One of the things we stress a lot is not rushing through practice or getting there. It's again about the quality, probably. Right?
Sure.
Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's again really important. Just realize that have a plan when you show up, so that you can really get quality out of your practice. I think a lot of the lack of quality comes from just showing up and, well, what are you going to do today? Well, I'm going to hit balls. Okay, well, let's be more specific. So specifically, what are you there to accomplish? What do you want to get out of it? What do you want to learn? What awareness do you want to develop? So be very specific. And then when it goes, comes to playing the golf course, if you only have time for 9 holes or it's 6 holes or whatever it is, make a little game out of it. Hey, I want to try to shoot under par for these 6 holes that I'll probably have versus let me play as many holes as I can. So, I think it's really just back to having a plan.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And then Tyler, some last thoughts on things physically and what needs to happen this time of year?
Yeah, again, get back to basics, work on improving overall physical function, get past the fact that you might look a little goofy on the driving range doing your dynamic warm-up, because the next guy will be laughing, not you. So
yeah, that's it. I don't think anybody's laughing now that DeChambeau has kind of proved a lot of them wrong, and as they were laughing about him gaining his 50 pounds or whatever it was, it ultimately has it. He's averaging, I don't know, whatever the distance is, but I think it's more than the
ball speed yesterday and 210 balls.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, and you see it in Phil Mickelson now as well, as he's transitioned maybe more into a senior player, that kind of thing. So, for some of us seniors out there, that's really important, gives us hope out there. So, but anyway, before we go any further, I just want to give a call out. As you notice that we're doing the show this evening at 6 p.m., we recommend that we ask that you give us some feedback on some time that's going to be working best for you, because we want to make the show effective for you first and foremost. So I know we normally on Tuesday at noon, but we thought we'd try Wednesday at 6 p.m. But give us your thoughts. Send those in, 5elementsofthegolfperformancecenter.com, or this YouTube chat. Send us your comments there so we can help make this show better and more productive for you as well. With that being said, Andrew, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. Our first is, you mentioned layers. What specifically should I be wearing, and what should I kind of have in my bag now that the weather's getting colder?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's back to what Tyler mentioned. Look at the low, look at the high. You can even get more specific and look at hourly. So there's a lot of different options. Some of the Under Armour gear out there, cold weather gear. You got to be careful, because if the high is going to get too high, you may end up too hot, and that's tough to change. So I think just kind of map out, when's your tee time, what's it going to look like by hour, and what might I feel the most comfortable in, and be able to take off easy and not be too cumbersome.
I also like a hand warmer. Throw one hand warmer in your pocket, kind of keeps some feel in your hands when you get some of those touch shots around a green, rolling putt.
I
don't know, that's just me.
Back to keeping your head warm is really important. So I think if you can keep your head warm, you generally won't need as many layers, and you won't have to bulk up, because that can affect how you move as well. So keeping the head warm is important.
So good winter hat in the bag,
absolutely.
This time, good.
Our next question is, I live in a warm climate. What are things that I can still do to prepare for fall tournaments?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, time restraints, right? I mean, that's one of the things you got to think about.
Yeah, I would agree. Time. As far as the weather, you may have to maybe need Dr. Brandt for that. Maybe some visualization powers, or maybe just something I heard a lot about and started to do is just like cold showers and getting in cold water and just getting your body used to just cold in general. I think can be a really good thing.
Well, it's a good wake-up call anyway.
That's it.
Anything else, Andrew?
No more questions, but we do have a winner for today's pop quiz.
All right. So, and the question again was, how many U.S. Opens has Wingfoot hosted, this, including this year? So, who's the winner? Who'd you draw?
The winner is Carmen Anderson, and the correct answer was 6.
6. All right.
Nice.
Wow.
Great, Carmen.
Nice.
Congrats.
Yeah, great. Way to go. You're going to get sent to you some clear golf balls, courtesy of Clear Golf. So again, thanks to Clear Golf on that. Next week's show, we're going to be talking with the AJGA and the state of the game and the junior golf, and what's happened with COVID-19 and how maybe it's affected some of the tournament play that they have out there. So we're excited about having the AJGA, Patrick Plank, on the show next week. So look forward to that. And as always, we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Ethan Allen Preparatory, and achieving your greatness in the classroom, on the golf course, and in life. And also the Junior Golf Hub, making sure you have that app downloaded, put those coaches in your pocket, those schools there. Also your self-assessment, the PDI self-assessment, get that done so you can actually get some guidance on what you need to do and where you need to get that help from. So again, thank you so much to those sponsors. And as always, make sure you get after it. Enjoy your journey.